Have you ever asked yourself why you stay in a relationship that causes you pain? Deep down, you know you're unhappy. You feel emotionally drained. You understand that the person you're with is unlikely to change, yet you remain. You've tried to walk away. You've told yourself things would be different this time. But something always draws you back. Why is that? Why isn't the pain enough to make you finally leave? The answer doesn't lie in the other person. It's not because they've manipulated you so expertly that you've lost your sense of agency. It's not because you love them too much to walk away. It's not even because things were once good and you're clinging to the memory. The real issue lies in what this relationship has triggered within you, what it has reawakened, reinforced, and activated on a deeper level. Toxic relationships are not just made of arguments, deceit, and control. They're fueled by hidden emotional patterns, by wounds left untreated, by a fear of abandonment, and by the desperate hunger for validation. You are not being held hostage by a person, you're caught in a web of emotions that this relationship stirs up in you. That's why walking away isn't as simple as it sounds. Even if you manage to distance yourself physically, part of you clings to the past. You replay the good times, justify the bad, and wonder if maybe, just maybe, it's worth trying again. But the truth is, the problem was never just the relationship. The real issue is the emotional tether. It created a powerful bond that skews your reality and leads you to tolerate what you once swore you never would. It's time to say, enough. This video isn't here to shame you. It's not about labeling you as weak or lacking strength. On the contrary, it's meant to help you see clearly, to bring light to what's really happening. Because when you understand the truth, you reclaim your power. And with that power, you can finally break free. So listen closely. If you've ever felt stuck knowing you need to leave but unable to, this message is for you. By the end, you'll understand why this cycle keeps repeating, and, most importantly, how to end it. Let's begin. Why do some people keep falling into toxic relationships, while others seem to walk away without hesitation? The answer lies in how we've learned to love. Love isn't random. It's shaped and programmed over time. And to understand why you're so emotionally attached to someone who hurts you, we need to talk about a foundational concept: attachment. From the moment we're born, we search for connection. In childhood, our brains equate safety and happiness with how love is given. If we grow up in a nurturing, consistent environment, we learn that love is dependable and safe. But if our affection came mixed with rejection, inconsistency, or emotional coldness, our minds learn something very different: that love is something uncertain, something we have to fight for. And that's where the trap begins. If your early experiences taught you that love comes hand in hand with pain, your subconscious clings to that narrative. So when you meet someone who treats you well all the time, it might feel suspicious, unnatural. But when someone shows affection, unpredictably loving one moment, distant the next, that chaos feels familiar. Your brain identifies it as home, as love. This is the emotional trap. You're not just attached to the person, you're emotionally bonded to what they symbolize. They stir up something buried inside you, a need to prove your worth, to finally turn rejection into acceptance, to win the love you've always craved. And that brings us to a major reason why it's so hard to walk away: the fear of losing that chance. When your attachment is rooted in inconsistency, the thought of losing that person isn't just sad, it feels like failure. Not because you can't live without them, but because you feel you must fix the story, earn the love, win the approval. But here's the truth you need to hear: you don't have to prove anything. This relationship isn't a test of your value. The issue was never your worth. And the solution isn't found in them. The first step to breaking this pattern is awareness. Now let's go deeper. What really keeps you stuck in this emotional loop? There's a psychological force at play that mimics addiction. It makes the pain oddly addictive. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it may be the most powerful tool that keeps you trapped in a toxic bond. Have you noticed how, despite all the hurt, there are brief moments that feel perfect? Moments when the other person says or does just enough to convince you to stay. You hold on to those fragments like lifelines, telling yourself this is the real relationship, and the rest is just a rough patch. But this isn't love. This is dependency. B.F. Skinner, a pioneer in behavioral psychology, discovered that the strongest way to build a habit is through unpredictable rewards. When animals received treats at random times for pressing a lever, they became obsessed pressing the lever compulsively, desperate for the next reward. Now replace the lever with your relationship. See how it works. If your partner were constantly cruel, leaving would be easy. But they give just enough affection, just enough hope, just enough sweetness to keep you coming back. And over time, you start accepting less and less. Where you once demanded honesty, consistency, and love, now you cling to crumbs. That's the trap. You're not chasing love, you're chasing a high. You're chasing a feeling that used to exist, or maybe only ever existed in moments. And the person on the other end doesn't need to give you full attention or affection. They just need to control the dosage, giving just enough to keep you addicted. And that's why walking away hurts so much. Because you're not just losing a partner, you're letting go of a dream. A hope. An emotional story you've written in your head. And yes, letting go of that story is painful. But holding on to it, that's soul-crushing. What's worse is how manipulation plays a role in deepening the trap. If you've ever found yourself thinking, am I the problem? Maybe I'm imagining things, you've felt the sting of gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone distorts the truth so deeply that you begin to question your own memory, your emotions, even your sanity. You confront a lie or a betrayal, and instead of taking responsibility, they flip the script. You're overreacting. You're always so dramatic. That never happened. Little by little, you lose faith in your own perception. You start second-guessing your instincts, replaying conversations, doubting what's real. Then there's projection, when someone takes their own behavior and throws it onto you. They cheat, but accuse you of betrayal. They lie, but call you dishonest. They act cold, and blame you for being distant. And eventually, you believe them. You carry guilt that was never yours to begin with. This is how they break you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They wear you down until you accept their reality over your own. And that leads to a crucial question: why do you accept all this, even when you know it's destroying you? Because of fear. Not just fear of pain, but fear of being alone. And the illusion that if you just love harder, wait longer, give more, it will all change. Sound familiar? Have you thought? What if no one else ever loves me? What if I never find someone again? What if I'm just being too sensitive? These are the thoughts that keep you stuck. But what you're experiencing isn't really fear of loneliness, it's emotional withdrawal. Breaking the addiction, escaping the emotional high of a toxic relationship. You're not just missing the person, you're missing the high. The sweet moments. The inside jokes. The look they gave you when things felt right. The way they made you feel like you were the only one in the world, before tearing you down again. What you're really grieving is the emotional fix. Toxic relationships are emotional roller coasters. They lift you high just to drop you even harder. And like any roller coaster, it becomes addictive not because it feels safe, but because the emotional intensity tricks your brain into believing it's love. But it's not love. It's a cycle of emotional dependency. And just like with any addiction, the belief that, maybe this time will be different, is what keeps the cycle alive. Every fight ends with a tearful apology or a passionate reunion. You tell yourself it means something, that maybe this time they'll finally understand. That maybe now they'll appreciate you. Respect you. Love you the right way. But time and time again, they don't. And deep down, you know that. Why toxic relationships create dependency? Let's get real, emotional abuse doesn't always look like screaming or physical violence. Sometimes, it looks like affection followed by coldness. Attention followed by silence. Love bombing, then ghosting. Praise, then criticism. over and over again. This is what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, a powerful manipulation tactic where positive and negative experiences are randomly alternated. It keeps you in a constant state of emotional uncertainty, never sure when the next high will come. And the brain becomes hooked on the unpredictability. It's the same mechanism behind gambling addiction. You keep pulling the lever, not because you're winning, but because you might win. That maybe becomes everything. And in relationships, that maybe becomes, maybe they'll change. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe if I just love them harder. But here's the truth that hurts: change doesn't come from sacrifice. It doesn't come from you giving more, loving more, tolerating more. Change only happens when someone recognizes their patterns and genuinely wants to do better. And let's be honest, how many times has this person promised to change? How many times have you believed them? How many times have you felt foolish afterward for hoping? Nothing is changing because this relationship was never built to change. It was built to control. To consume. To confuse. Not to nourish, support, or evolve. And accepting that is painful because it means letting go of the hope that sustained you. It means mourning a future you dreamed of, a version of them that never actually existed. It means facing the void you've been trying to avoid all this time. But that pain, it's temporary. Staying in this cycle, that pain lasts forever. What you're really mourning, you're not weak for missing them. You're human. But understand this, you're not just mourning a person, you're mourning an illusion. You're mourning the idea of who they could have been. The version of them that showed up in the beginning, or during those rare, good days. You're mourning the hope that things might improve. The image of a perfect love you created in your mind to survive the chaos. You're mourning the parts of yourself that got lost trying to keep them happy. Because let's be real, this wasn't a mutual relationship. You were always giving more. Explaining yourself. Justifying your worth. Walking on eggshells. Swallowing your needs. Silencing your voice. That's not love. That's emotional survival. And it's time to stop surviving and start healing. Step 1, go no contact completely. No calls. No texts. No late night, just wondering how you are. No checking their social media. No hoping they'll notice you're gone and come back different. Every interaction is a hit of the drug. Every response reactivates the emotional bond. And even if it feels good in the moment, it sets you back weeks in your healing. But what if I need closure? You don't. You already have it. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself when you decide that enough is enough. The desire for closure is often just another way to stay attached. It's a disguised excuse to reach out. To hear their voice. To feel relevant in their world. But real closure comes from clarity, not contact. And the clarity is this: they aren't going to change. They've shown you who they are, again and again. Believe it. Step 2, detox your mind and body. Just like withdrawing from a substance, breaking free from a toxic relationship has real physical and emotional symptoms. Anxiety. Sleepless nights. A racing heart when you see their name or hear a familiar song. This is normal. It's the chemical withdrawal from the emotional roller coaster. But the only way to get through it is to detox completely. Delete old photos and messages. Remove reminders from your space. Block their number. Unfollow or mute them on social media. It may feel harsh, but healing doesn't happen in half measures. You cannot detox from poison while still sipping from the bottle. Give your mind and body space to recalibrate. The silence might be uncomfortable at first, but eventually, it becomes peace. Step 3, rebuild your identity. Toxic love erodes your self-worth. Slowly, subtly, you begin to question your instincts. You doubt your decisions. You shrink yourself to fit into their comfort zone. You forget what made you you in the first place. Now is the time to rediscover it. Ask yourself, what made me feel alive before this relationship? What did I love about myself before I was told I was too much or not enough? What have I been neglecting in order to keep someone else happy? Start small. Reclaim your passions. Journal your feelings. Talk to someone who truly sees you. Reconnect with friends. Go outside. Move your body. Eat good food. Laugh real, belly laughter. You don't need a full transformation overnight. You just need to take the next right step. And then the next. And the next. Step 4, learn the patterns so you never repeat them. Healing isn't just about moving on. It's about learning what got you stuck in the first place. Ask yourself, what did I ignore? What red flags did I excuse? Why did I stay after the first betrayal? What was I hoping to fix? Many people who end up in toxic relationships come from environments where inconsistency, emotional manipulation, or neglect were normalized. Maybe you were taught that love needs to be earned. That it's selfish to have boundaries. That real love hurts sometimes. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to unlearn it. Read. Reflect. Seek therapy if possible. Listen to your intuition again. Because once you truly understand the patterns, you won't be fooled by them again. Step 5, rebuild your definition of love. Toxic relationships teach us that love is supposed to be intense, chaotic, passionate to the point of pain. But real love? It's steady, safe, kind. It's not always butterflies and fireworks, it's peace. It's clarity. It's mutual respect. It's the freedom to be yourself without fear. You have to redefine what love means so that when the next person comes along, you're not just looking for chemistry, you're looking for compatibility, character, and consistency. That's how you break the cycle. Final thoughts, don't just escape, rise. Escaping a toxic relationship isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new one. It's the moment you reclaim your life. The moment you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself. The moment you realize that your peace is more important than their attention. It's not weakness to walk away, it's power. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not too much. You are not the reason they hurt you. You were just trying to love someone who didn't know how to love themselves and made it your job to fill their void. But you're done now. You're healing now. You're rising now. And that's the most beautiful ending and beginning you could ever write. Step 2, face the withdrawal, and fight through it. Let's not sugarcoat it, it's going to hurt. Not just emotionally. You might feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your bones. You'll wake up and instinctively reach for your phone to check for their messages. You'll hear a song, catch a scent, or pass a place that reminds you, and suddenly the air feels heavier, the world a little dimmer. You'll miss the good moments. The I love yous. The way they held you when things were good. The private jokes. The sense of belonging, even if it was built on shaky ground. But please remember this isn't love you're feeling. It's withdrawal. And withdrawal means the system is flushing itself clean of something it had become dependent on. Because let's be honest, this wasn't a steady love. It was chaotic. It was inconsistent. It came with conditions. You had to prove your worth just to receive crumbs of affection. You learned to tolerate being ignored, disrespected, and minimized. You may have even blamed yourself. That wasn't love. That was survival. And now that you're no longer in survival mode, your mind is trying to trick you into going back, not because it was healthy, but because it was familiar. Here's what you do instead. 1. Replace the habit, don't just resist it. Trying to avoid thinking about them won't work. The more you tell your brain, don't think about it, the more it fixates. Instead, replace the pattern. Wake up and journal your feelings instead of texting them. Go for a walk when you feel anxious instead of scrolling through old photos. Put on music that empowers you, not music that makes you mourn. Pick up a hobby that requires your full attention: gardening, painting, boxing, dance, puzzles, anything immersive. 2. Move your body, even when you don't want to. Exercise isn't just about health, it's about power. When you move your body, you reclaim control. You regulate your emotions. You break the loop of anxiety and despair. You release endorphins that remind your brain you're alive and you're capable. Even if it's just stretching or walking around the block, move. 3. Feed your mind with truth. Your emotions will lie to you during withdrawal. They'll romanticize the past. They'll whisper, "It wasn't that bad," or "They didn't mean to hurt me." But your mind? Your logical, grounded mind, that's what will save you. Read books about emotional trauma and toxic dynamics. Listen to podcasts that uplift, inform, and empower. Write down a list of the things that hurt you, yes, all of them. Keep that list nearby. Every time you start missing the high, read it out loud. Remind yourself what you're healing from. 4. Let the pain pass through you. Don't suppress it. Don't distract endlessly. Don't numb. Sit with it. Cry if you need to. Scream into a pillow. Talk to someone who understands. Let the grief move through you like a storm. Because when you face it head-on, you take away its power to control you. You're not weak for feeling broken. You're strong for choosing to feel, because feeling is the first step to healing. 5. Reconnect with people who remind you who you are. Toxic relationships isolate you. They make you feel like no one else will understand, or like you're too damaged to be loved by others. That's a lie. Surround yourself with people who make you feel seen. People who speak life into you. People who don't want anything from you but your joy and your peace. These are the relationships that will anchor you as you detox and rebuild. Step 3. Reclaim your identity, and come home to yourself. One of the most devastating parts of a toxic relationship isn't just the heartbreak, it's the loss of self. Somewhere along the way, you stopped recognizing yourself. You began to shrink. You gave up hobbies, passions, friends, and even pieces of your personality just to make the relationship work. You walked on eggshells. You questioned your worth. You forgot how powerful, interesting, and vibrant you really are. Now is the time to remember. Now is the time to come home to yourself. Ask yourself, who was I before this relationship? What did I love to do when no one was watching? How did I spend my time when I wasn't afraid of being judged? What brought me joy that I abandoned? Did I stop creating, exploring, laughing? What did I give up because they didn't approve, or because I didn't have the energy anymore? What parts of myself do I want to reclaim or reinvent? This isn't about going back to who you were before. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be, the version of you that is free from fear, shame, or codependency. Begin to rebuild. Create a "me again" list. Write down everything you want to rediscover or reintroduce. Start with small things: your favorite movies, foods, music, clothing style, hobbies, even hairstyles. Make it fun. Make it sacred. Make space for solitude. Being alone isn't the same as being lonely. Solitude is where you reconnect with your thoughts, your heart, and your intuition. It's where you listen to your needs again. Set new standards for your future. Now that you know what red flags look like, write a list of what healthy love means to you. What will you never tolerate again? What will you require in future relationships? This is how self-respect is born, not by swearing off love, but by refusing to settle for a love that wounds you. Learn to validate yourself. You don't need their approval anymore. You don't need their apology. You don't need to be chosen to know you are worthy. Because the most powerful kind of love, the one that frees you, is the love you give yourself. When you stop waiting for someone else to see your worth and start living like you already know it, everything changes. You speak differently. You walk differently. You attract differently. Because your energy is no longer desperate for validation, it's rooted in truth. This is your new beginning. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't the end. It's the beginning of your liberation. It's the moment you said, "I deserve more." It's the start of your return to self. To peace. To clarity. To joy. And yes, there will be pain. But that pain is cleansing, not destructive. It's the ache of transformation. It's the discomfort of growth. It's the shedding of everything false so that what's true can finally breathe. So breathe. Let this be your vow: I will never abandon myself again to keep someone else from abandoning me. You are whole. You are healing. And your life is just beginning.